What's going on, everyone? Donovan here. Welcome back to the show. And here we are. We're up to part three, finally, of Detroit Radio, the last and final installment of our series here. And I'm excited about this one because it's one where I got into a lot of trouble at, and I experimented a lot with music. And it was a lot of days where my mother basically told me to turn down the radio, turn it off when I listen to these certain stations. All right, for the recap, Detroit Radio. In part one, I told you about just how radio really wasn't a thing for me. It was kind of just introduced to me by my parents and what they listened to, what the neighborhood listened to in the mornings, especially Detroit Black Radio. Just things that kept you moving, motivated during the day and in your morning, waking up. Part two, I shared about just how radio really influenced me with Electrifying Mojo, one of the coolest DJs on the airwaves, and just how he played a lot of not just quote unquote black music, but a lot of hip hop, techno, and he played a lot of retro and rock as well. Now, getting on to part three, and as I share with you, Mojo just influenced me a lot with playing a lot of music that I didn't care for, and I would turn the radio station to other stations, hearing the same music, and I actually ended up liking some of it. So I ended up getting into retro, ended up getting into rock, and that's what we're going to discuss today with part three of Detroit Radio. Is that I discovered the Rebel Yell, and just there were three stations that I listened to. One I really listened to more over the years, but one was kind of like a temporary Friday night, I believe it was Friday or Saturday night station I would listen to, and that's because of this show called The Beat that used to be simulcast on WLLZ. The Wheels Radio with Doug Pudell.
The Beat is a simulcast co-production of WTVS Detroit Channel 56 and Rock Radio FM 98.7 WLLZ, Detroit's Wheels.
Show used to come on every Friday or Saturday night. I believe it was Friday night around 11:30, and that's what I mean. I would get into trouble because I'm basically in the living room. I got my radio on and the TV on, listening and looking at the show because it introduced me to a lot of rock, and I mean the big hair bands like Poison, Motley Crue, the heavy bands, metal like Metallica, of course the girl bands and the women artists as well, Heart and of course Pat Benatar and the Motels, just different artists I learned about from watching The Beat every Friday night. And what's cool is that Doug Pudell would interview certain artists, kind of remind me of what Mojo did, but it was more on the rock sphere. And you think about Detroit, you think about Detroit for Motown, you think about Detroit for techno, you think about Detroit for rap, for hip hop. But this part of my life, I got to know about Detroit as Rock City, just a whole bunch of artists that I never knew about, and hearing the same instrumentation, hearing guitars, piano, synthesizers, drums, but hearing them in a different ear, and not like I grew up with quote unquote black music, just knowing drums and guitars and things in that way. But alternative and rock really kind of just express different ways of hearing music to me. Another radio station that I would listen to from time to time used to have this crazy commercial.
I'm back to tell you about that remarkable radio station.
I'm Arthur Penhollow on WRIF. Just take a look at these lips. This is Ken Calvert with a half-hour commercial-free cruise on WRIF. Get it up, Detroit. This is JJ and the Morning Crew on the WRIF. Nothing matters but the weekend.
This is Karen Savelli with another commercial-free Detroit cruise on WRIF.
You've still got a remarkable mouth.
WRIF is still a remarkable radio station.
Baby!
I would listen to them sometimes because they were kind of close. I would get the call numbers mixed up between WRF and WLLZ because on Friday night I'm looking for WLLZ, and now we end up running into RIF, and I would listen to them both. I would listen to RIF until the beat came on. But then later, especially with not really getting into rock so much, but listening to it, but really more, I was more in the alternative, just with bands like Depeche Mode and oh my gosh, so many other bands and groups that I would listen to this radio station called 89X, which would play everything else that I was into at the time, and it would play my Billy Idol. I mean, I just things listening to, looking at the beat and 89X, and you had a lot of Canadian artists out at the time, UK artists, just a lot of just a deep fusion of so much unique music that I just loved. It was just a new experience to my ears, and then with the lyrics as well, just hearing these things, and of course with the rising of MTV and we didn't have MTV then. It was pretty much cable, and the first form of cable in our neighborhood was HBO. Now, other people in other areas had satellite and things like that, but we had HBO, and so going over a friend's house and actually seeing MTV for the first time was cool. But I had my own form of MTV through the beat, through different video shows, video jukebox, and there were others that came on Friday and Saturday nights that showed different videos, not only just alternative music, hip hop, but also rock as well. And it was fun back in those days because my mother used to get upset all the time especially when I kicked Billy Idol. I mean, the Rebel Yell, and that was something with me being a senior in high school, is that was a voice for me. I couldn't do it. I'm not going to do it, but to have music that screams and yells and kind of says what you want to say. And rock was, at that time, I mean, you listen to rock, you would consider listening to the devil's music. And I don't necessarily think it's the devil's music, even though I've heard some stuff that's questionable. And that's not just with rock, that's with a whole bunch of genres out there that have questionable lyrics and imagery. But yeah, it was just rebel music, a rebel yell that, hey, this is what I'm gonna listen to. This is doing the yelling and screaming and kicking for me. I remember looking at a lot of Twisted Sister videos, Kiss videos, and Motley, Crue, Poison, Van Halen, just different artists that, like I said, big hair and the makeup, but just yelling and screaming all over the place. And that was my outlet to look at them, and that was my definitely a fun time in Detroit radio for me growing up. Well, guys, that's my video for today. Life Pages, ending the series of Detroit radio. I just wanted to share just how Detroit radio impacted me and some of the stations I listened to. But what about you? What are some stations that you listen to that really impacted your taste on music and just shaped you growing up. Well, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Donovan out. Peace.